Welcome back to Limitless Sports with Brennan and Dave. We are back for episode 6 this weekend, and we've got a lot of topics on our docket today, a lot of different topics. We're going to go from all the way from the beginning of high school to college, a little bit maybe, if we have time, and a lot of the NFL as is now is divisional playoff weekend. So let's go ahead and just jump right into content, Brennan. How are you feeling today?
Dave, there's no place I'd rather be than here with you.
Oh man. All right, so we got some wild card recaps from last weekend. So we both went 5-1. We had a
lot of blowouts last week.
Blowouts.
2 close games.
A lot of blowouts. We both went 5-1. Our losses. My loss was, of course, I tried to pick the heart and go with the Steelers. That didn't happen. Brennan lost his game with the 49ers. Even though he called it the upset pick last week, he should have just went with his gut.
I should have went with my gut. A little too much faith in the Cowboys.
That's all right. So we got Bengals beat the Raiders 26-19. Great game though.
Good game. Cincinnati had control of that game most of the game.
They pulled back.
They were up. What was it, 20-6 at one point? I can't remember.
20-6. Yes.
Yeah, they were up 20-6 at one point. Yeah, we watched that game over at my parents' house last Saturday. Major. It's what you expected. Closer game.
It was down to the wire, though. I mean,
kudos to the Raiders.
Raiders
all the controversy this year. John Gruden, Henry Ruggs, still coming together. Winning 10 games and making the postseason.
And they had a chance to win. I mean, they were driving down the last minute and a half, and Derek Carr threw an interception. But we might mention his name a little later on in the show today. Then you went to Buffalo, and
shocker.
The Buffalo Bills.
I think kickoff I saw it was -6, which is close to what we're having here this morning in Pittsburgh.
They just blew through Buffalo.
Well, the score at halftime was 27-3. I shut it off. I was like,
Well, and they were just screwing with them at one point, too. I mean, they were just going out for a fact of just like, didn't they throw a pass to a lineman for a touchdown?
I think so. Yeah, I shut it off at halftime and just recapped the score in the morning. New England has a lot of retooling to do. That defense is old. They're good, but they're old.
Yep.
They don't have a clear-cut number 1 running back.
I mean, when you have Josh Allen throwing 21 for 25, 308 and 5 scores, and they picked off Mac Jones twice. I mean,
Josh Allen's a good quarterback. I mean, he's one of the faces of the league now. Reminds you a lot of Ben Roethlisberger in his younger days, his first 3 or 4 years in the league. But, like I said, shocker of a blowout. You thought this was going to be one of those lower-scoring 17-14, 21-10 kind of games.
It put Buffalo on notice.
It did, and you know what? It's a shame that Kansas City and Buffalo have to play this weekend.
Agreed. All right. Then we went to our Sunday games, and we had the Buccaneers beating the Eagles 31-15. The score looks a lot closer than this game actually
They were up 31-0. That game was over by halftime. Yeah. I think it was 24-0 at halftime.
It was 17-0 at halftime. It was 31-0 after the third quarter was over. They scored those 2 touchdowns in the fourth.
Tampa pulled a lot of their starters.
I still don't.
Tristan Wirfs went down. He's supposedly going to play.
Is he going to play
Sunday?
Today?
They said it's going to be very, very down to the wire, but I think I heard it's looking like he's going to play. Backup didn't play terrible. Philadelphia has one of the best defensive lines in the league.
I just don't think. I don't know. I don't have enough faith in Tampa yet.
No, if they come out tomorrow and dominate dominate Los Angeles,
different story.
We're going to be talking about it. Probably different Super Bowl picks. But they're playing my Super Bowl representative from the NFC this week, so it's curious to see.
I think the Eagles were definitely the weakest link of the NFC playoffs.
Oh yeah, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh both. That 7th seed so unnecessary.
100%.
7th seed so unnecessary.
Then we went to Dallas.
Best game of the weekend.
Dallas Cowboys.
Best game of the weekend.
Again. At one point it was what? 20? It was 23-7 49ers.
And San Francisco's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, they're playing really good down the stretch. They're running the football really well, doing what Shanahan likes to do best. Deebo Samuel's the jack of all trades.
I'll put you this
Wouldn't
way.
be shocked if they gave Green Bay a really good game tonight.
They won without Jimmy G throwing a touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a single one. They scored all their touchdowns.
Deebo threw a TD.
What?
Deebo threw a TD Sunday, did he?
No.
No? Maybe that was a week before.
Debo ran one. They only had 2 touchdowns and then 3 field goals. So, then we got to our lovely Steelers. 42-21 loss to the Chiefs.
Not a shocker.
I was surprised that it was so close at first.
I wasn't. The defense came out. They played really stout. The first 20 minutes or so. I think if they could have capitalized off that Devin Bush interception and they went up 14-0, even 10-0, I think that you would have heard a pin drop in that stadium. And, we say it all the time. Arrowhead and it's Quest Field in Seattle. Those are the 2 hardest places to play.
Once you get Arrowhead fired up, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Done. We'll talk more about that game later today. And then our stupid Monday night game that was another blowout. Man, the Rams took it to the Cardinals 34-11.
I said it all year. Arizona played a third-place schedule. They weren't really good. Young football team still.
Yeah, they're young.
They're still going to win. They're still going to win games. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're still going to win games. They went, 11-6?
Yeah.
Good football team. Overrated football team. They'll be back next year.
28-0 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And, simple fact of when Matt Stafford only had to throw the ball 17 times and you win the game. It's pretty impressive. It means you're highly efficient.
Hey, he had good teams in Detroit 3 years. They went to the playoffs all 3 years. He never had a win. But
I know.
He's in Los Angeles now.
He played more than 3 years.
No, I'm saying he went to the playoffs 3 times. Had 3 good teams.
Yeah.
Went to the playoffs all 3 times. I think 1 year they won 12-4. I can't even remember.
That is back with Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson, they had a good running game, good defense.
Yep. So let's jump into our divisional previews. So we actually broke it down by day today, and I took the Saturday games, and Brennan took the Sunday games. So I'm going to start with, we've got at 4:05 or 4:30 this afternoon, Cincinnati Bengals are driving down to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans. A lot of big storylines in this game. So Cincinnati's had a great season. I think they're still
overachieved.
They're overachieving. I think they're still 1 year away. I was a person that definitely said that the Jamar Chase draft pick was stupid. I didn't think they.
I was right there with you. You have to protect your franchise quarterback if you want him to be your quarterback for years to come.
Right, and they've overachieved. Joe Burrow's thrown for 4,600 yards. Mixon's ran for 1,200. Chase has 13 touchdowns. But here's where I want to talk about with the preview for today in this matchup. I don't believe in Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's 12-5. Good team. When's the last time our number 1 seed in the AFC had 5 losses?
I think there's just that much balance in the AFC this year. There was a lot of good teams in the playoffs. Tennessee was 12-5. Kansas City was 12-5.
Mm-hmm. So you go back through and you look at, Tennessee's losses. They got blown out week 1 by the Cardinals, 38-13. They lost to the Jets in overtime, so that's lost 2.
Was that at MetLife?
Yeah. Then they beat the Chiefs bad, 27-3. That was back when the Chiefs were struggling. They lost to the Patriots bad, 36-13. Lost to the Steelers, 19-13. So that's 1. And they lost to the Texans. So they're a very, in my opinion, inconsistent team. They won some games they needed to. They
lost to 3 playoff teams and they lost to 2 non-playoff
teams.
They lost to Arizona, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City.
No, they beat Kansas City. They lost.
That's right. They beat Kansas City.
They lost to Arizona, the Jets, so no playoff. So 1 playoff. They beat the Bills. I'm scrolling. Hold on.
Texans.
Patriots. That's another. So they lost the Patriots, Steelers, and Cardinals, 3 playoff teams.
So they lost to 3 playoff teams.
But you look through. They have beaten a lot of playoff teams.
They're a good home team. They're 7-2 at home this year. That 17th game, it's just an extra beating on your body. I think it's unnecessary. I thought 16 was a good number for the NFL. And I think now they're talking we're going to be up towards maybe even 20 games in the next 20 years.
Just stupid.
Who even knows?
So that's my question. Can Tennessee put it all together? Derrick Henry's coming back today. First game back since October, September.
Well, Ryan Tannehill was hyped up at the beginning of the season. There was talk maybe he'd be in the MVP conversation. Look at it. Look at his numbers. 3,734 yards, 21 TDs, 14 picks. They are missing Derrick Henry for more than half the season. That offense runs through Derrick Henry, and then they rely on running the football, throwing the football down the field to Julio Jones and A.J. Brown.
What was the last game that he played in? I'm trying to find it right now.
I can't remember. He had almost 1,000 yards this year. He was like 70 yards away from 1,000.
He played. They didn't have him against either. He got hurt. No, he got hurt in the Tennessee-Indianapolis game because he didn't play against the Rams. So he got hurt Halloween, and he bounced back.
So they didn't have him for November, December, and then the first 2 weeks
in January.
Mm.
And I'm interested to see how well he comes back. I saw some videos of him in practice. He looks very good. He looks very energized, ready to go. But can he come back strong today? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
And that's what I'm saying. I think this is going to be won or lost for Tennessee with Derrick Henry. If he comes out and looks like a well-oiled machine, like where you've been used to seeing him with Tennessee, with the Crimson Tide in college, yep. I think Tennessee's going to win this game, maybe even pretty soundly. But
here's where a couple things that I would say for Tennessee to win this game. Derrick Henry has to run for 100 yards.
He has to be efficient.
He has to be
keep Burrow and that high flying offense off the field.
They've got to be able to pass sufficiently and not have Tannehill throw interceptions. He's got to go a perfect game.
I think if they get Henry back, and Henry can do his normal thing, rush for over 100 yards, maybe even a touchdown or two.
Yep.
Tannehill might only have to throw the ball 20 times today.
That's my two big takes on that side of the ball for Tennessee. Well, just for Tennessee in general. It's more offensively. But defensively, can they handle being able to tackle Cincinnati's big offensive firepower? I don't think they can. I truly don't think they can handle their firepower to be able to stop them.
It's gonna come down to the trenches and the pass rush on Joe Burrow. Cincinnati's offensive line versus Tennessee's defensive line. If they can get pressure on Burrow and sack him early and often, I think Tennessee stands a chance. They have to build a lead. That's what it's going to come down to for Tennessee. They got to come out and get up by 10, 14, 17 points fast if they want to stand a chance in this football game.
Agreed. So, let me go ahead and give you my pick in this one. I've got to go with the AFC North. Cincinnati 35, Tennessee 34, big shootout.
That's a nice pick because I have Cincinnati playing in the AFC Championship. That's a good pick. You know what you're talking about.
Thank you. All right, let's go into our next game, for me at least. I took Green Bay versus San Francisco. I researched a lot into this matchup. Game time weather is always a big factor in Green Bay. 12 degrees is the temperature tonight around kickoff. Wind chill around 0. Can the San Francisco players handle cold? It's a big question. Nick Bosa played at Ohio State. They have a bunch of other players that played, like George Kittle, Iowa guy.
Big Ten guys.
There's a bunch of Big Ten guys on their roster.
Jimmy G played New England all them years.
Right. They also went up and practiced yesterday in Green Bay. I was on TikTok yesterday. This is a funny story, but watching different videos, and I ended up stumbling across a video of this person was videotaping them because they were practicing at their high school in Green Bay. So, can they handle the weather? We're going to see. Question number 2 is, can San Francisco's front seven shut down Aaron Rodgers? Their front seven is phenomenal. Nick Bosa, the defensive line.
They were projected to have one of the best defense in all football this year. And, it's been kind of a letdown, kind of a roller coaster season. We talked about this the past few weeks since the holidays into now. Roller coaster season for the 49ers, losing big name players early in the season, starting to get some of those guys back.
Right.
Past few weeks, they've been hitting on all cylinders, got some big wins,
and
got a nice playoff win last week.
Their strength is running the ball. So running the ball in the cold is going to be the strength. But here's where it's crazy. You look at the rematch, because this is a rematch game.
Every game this weekend is a rematch game, except for Tennessee Cincinnati.
Yep. Because we played Cincinnati.
Twice.
I'm sorry. Tennessee. We were the AFC South crossover with Tennessee. They didn't, because Cincinnati didn't have the AFC South as our matchup. We played the West, I think, this year. All 4. Raiders.
I'm trying to think.
We played the rest because we played Broncos.
Yeah, we played the Seattle Seahawks too. We didn't play that division either.
That was the crossover game, the extra one.
Oh, it's because we won the division last year and they won the division. So that's
So rematch from September. It was a September game.
This was in San Francisco, wasn't it?
San Francisco scored with 27 seconds left to go up 27. Too much time for Aaron Rodgers. I think it was 37 seconds or something like that. Aaron Rodgers drove down, got the game-winning field goal, 51 yarders, bang, game was over. So, a couple other questions I want to ask. Can Aaron Rodgers get past some of his late playoff blunders? He gets to the moment, normally in the conference championship game, and can't pull through.
He's lost a couple divisional round matchups to the Giants that one year. I think they went 9-7. They're the first 9-7 team to win the Super Bowl.
But not a lot. His usual kryptonite is the conference championship. So we'll see. What will Deebo Samuel and George Kittle do? Those are their two most important players on offense for San Francisco, other than Eli Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Can the three of them score enough? Because they're going to have to score at least 27 points to win this game, I think.
I'm thinking they're going to have to score somewhere around that 27-30 mark to win this football game. I'm also looking at play like the secondary guys. Look at Brandon Ayuk. Mm-hmm. Had a big game against the Cowboys, nice game against the Cowboys, good season overall. I think guys like that's what's going to make the difference because they're going to try to take away Samuel and Kittle and Mitchell.
And Jimmy G's got to play efficient. You can't throw the ball.
This is kind of similar to the game we were talking about in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, it's very similar.
If San Francisco can come out and run the football down Green Bay's throat and they can't stop it and say, we're going to do it until you can stop it, San Francisco's going to win this football game.
100%. Another TikTok I saw. This is a funny one. Do you know who played scout team quarterback for San Francisco this week?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
I was reading that on ESPN earlier in the week when we were texting when I was at work.
He played scout team quarterback to imitate A-Rod. And they were saying, I forget who it was. I want to say it was their one corner for San Francisco. That Trey Lance looked very, 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 very good. They think if he has to go in tonight, he can succeed.
I wouldn't be shocked when you move up so far to draft the guy. Where'd they draft him at, number 3? Or is it top 5?
It's too high.
I mean, when you move up that far to take a guy who's going to be the future of your franchise, I hope you have that confidence in him to go in and win the big game.
Here's where it's crazy. Last thing I'll say with this one. Where's Aaron Rodgers from?
California.
Right. On draft night. Found this video this morning.
Sat there.
Aaron Rodgers was asked, how disappointed will you be if you're not drafted as a 49er? You know what his response was?
Very.
Not as disappointed as the 49ers will be as they didn't draft me. So he's going to remember that tonight as the Green Bay Packers will beat the 49ers 28-20.
Close one.
Sandwich game, you like to call it.
I'm going to take Green Bay as well.
Man, so
I think San Francisco. That's your Super Bowl pick is Green Bay. Yep. I think San Francisco can win this football game.
They're going to give them a game.
All these games are going to be very close should be very close this weekend.
Hopefully. So we got the same picks the last 2 games.
I mean, I'm going with my Super Bowl pick still.
Yeah.
I have both my AFC and NFC represented in my games. I'm previewing.
All right, let's go to your 2 previews.
So Sunday, 3:00 on NBC, the Los Angeles Rams will travel down to Tampa Bay to take on the defending champion Buccaneers.
I forgot that this is the early game.
It's
the first game.
3 and 6:30.
Stupid time slots. Why are you playing 6:30 on a Sunday night?
Because they know the game went at 9 and people will stay up to watch it.
I want to go to bed.
The first time these two teams met, Los Angeles was up by 17 at 2 different points during the game. Tampa Bay didn't play their best game back in week 3. Which, mind you, any Brady-led team, you want to play them in September because you're going to beat them.
Correct.
September, maybe the first week of October. When you don't want to play them is January and February.
I forgot that was a good game. I remember watching that game.
It ended up turning into a little bit of a blowout. Tampa Bay scored some late points.
Tom Brady threw the ball 55 times in that game. Jesus.
And when Tom was in New England all those years, they go 2-2 in September. Oh my God, the sky is falling. Guess what? They ended up finishing 13-3 or 14-2.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even matter.
It was their first loss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you never want to see the Brady team in December or January. You just don't want to see that.
Never.
Tampa smoked past Philadelphia last week, beating them 31-15. Like we just said, the score is a lot closer than the game was actually. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts is not an NFL quarterback. I'm sorry to break everyone's hearts. Philly scored all those points in garbage time. Brady played outstanding, as always.
He did.
And Gronk looks like he's in retro form again this postseason.
He only had 5 catches, though, but still, he had quality catches.
It was enough.
Yes. Mike Evans had the
quality over quantity.
Correct.
But this isn't the same Tampa team as a year ago. Godwin IR, Brown, cut for being a jackass. Defense isn't as stout as it was last year.
No Fournette.
Yeah, I think they're saying he might play tomorrow.
Can he really come back?
I think they're saying he has a chance. They thought he was going to play against Philadelphia.
Really? I didn't know that. I'm going to look it up while you talk. Keep going.
The defense isn't as stout as what it was last year. Tampa has 4 running backs, so they can hurt you all in different ways. Bernard, Jones, Fournette, and Vaughn. They have 3 killer tight ends, Gronkowski, Brayton, Howard, and that's the look they've been giving everybody since Godwin's went to the IR. Brown's been cut. They've been going 3 tight end sets, Gronkowski, Howard, and Brayton all on the field at the same time.
So to answer your question, Jones is out today.
Yes, I saw Jones is out tomorrow. I'm looking at the injury report right now on my computer.
It said on January 20th that
maybe it was Jones I was thinking about.
Fournette was spotted participating in Thursday's practice. He is on the IR, so they have to designate him, but I don't know when they have designated him to come back yet. He has 14 days once they do that. So I can see if they win this game, they could potentially, like you said earlier, Worse is questionable, and so is Jensen. So
yeah, they still have Bernard and Vaughn, and both those guys are. I mean, Bernard, we've seen him for a long time in the AFC North. Good running back, can run the football, can catch the football. Los Angeles is that team that went all in on this year, and usually I never take that team.
I know.
Ever. Trading for Matthew Stafford to be that guy to win them the big game that they can never win with Goff. Bringing Von Miller at the deadline in October to solidify the defense. And then Robert Woods, what was it? Tore his
ACL.
I couldn't remember if it was ACL or MCL.
Yep, November.
And they go out and pick up OBJ off waivers because Cleveland waived him.
You're forgetting one.
Who's that?
Jordan Fuller, almost all-pro safety, gets hurt with an ankle injury last week of the season. Who did they bring in to play safety?
Oh, they signed Eric Weddle.
Weddle.
And he did play good, like the 20 or 30 snaps he played last. I mean, he's older. I mean,
he's okay.
The only reason he came out of retirement is because it was the last team he played for. He was still under contract with them.
Yep. Felt bad.
The defense is loaded across the board. Donald, Miller, Ramsey, now Weddle. A lot of big names. On offense, Stafford's turned to Cooper Kupp, who I think is the league's best receiver right now.
I would agree.
Oh, my.
Him and Chase are fighting for
Phenomenal. 1,900, over 1,900 yards, 16 TDs.
I think the problem with Chase is Chase is more of a deep threat guy.
Kupp can do it all.
Kupp can do it all.
And you know what's funny about the Rams? They just got their star running back.
I know.
Tore his Achilles, ran for 95 yards last week.
He played well last week.
Against a good Cardinals defense.
Agreed.
So this team can score points and will. Matthew Stafford should be considered for the MVP conversation. I'm a Brady guy. We've been friends for a long time. The Rams were my representative from the NFC in the Super Bowl, and they still are. Rams 28, Buccaneers 23. Close one.
I took the Rams as well.
Close one.
I took 27-21.
27-21. I think there's going to be a little bit more points scored than that.
I don't know.
I think Stafford wins this game.
I think it could be a very defensive game, though, because both defenses can produce.
I think the Bucs are up late, 23-21, and then
come back and score.
Stafford comes down and wins the game in the final minutes.
Go to your next one.
I want to go into this. My next game is Buffalo at Kansas City. This is the Sunday night game at 6:40. I believe it's on CBS.
In my opinion, this game should have been the AFC Championship game.
It should have been. And, it's sad that they're playing this early. We just said that a few minutes ago. These two teams are very similar.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? This isn't the Bills team from last year who didn't match up well with Kansas City, this Bills team could go pound for pound with the Chiefs.
I think this Bills team this year, though,
the Bills smoked them week 5.
So much better defensively. I didn't realize this. They have the number 1 defense.
Yeah, they do.
Number 1 defense. That's insane.
It's like week 5, they came out and they smoked the Chiefs in Arrowhead, 38-20.
I saw that. Yeah.
This game's going to be a classic. Like I said, it's a shame it has to be played so early in the divisional round.
But did they end up peaking too much last week with blowing both teams out? That's a little bit of what I'm afraid of. What does Buffalo still have in their back pocket they didn't show last week? I mean, Kansas City didn't show a lot.
I mean, I don't think Kansas City didn't have to show a lot because who they were playing. They were playing a way inferior opponent that probably didn't deserve to be in the postseason in the Pittsburgh Steelers. But both these teams kind of flew under the radar a bit during the regular season. Kansas City, everyone thought the sky was falling. Started the season 3-4. Buffalo, kind of similar story. Losing games they should have won against Jacksonville and the divisional rival New England. So this should be a dandy.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas City, wow, what a turnaround. In the beginning of the season. And they didn't lose a whole lot of the offseason, but they rebounded to finish 12-5. And a big part of the reason is to play Patrick Mahomes. Instead of forcing the big play down the field like he has the past couple of years, taking what the defense gives him, going with the 5, 6, 7 yard pickups instead of hitting the home run ball every time. The only concern I had about Kansas City was they lost their clear-cut number 2 wide receiver this offseason in Sammy Watkins. They really don't have that guy anymore.
But they've always had production, though. Someone
steps up every game. This game it might be Byron Pringle. Next game it might be Mecole Hardman. The next game it might be Robinson. So they do have other players, but what really turned the Chiefs' corner of their season is they got Melvin Ingram from Pittsburgh in October for basically nothing.
Stupid.
Turn their whole defense around. Their defense has been in the top half of the league ever since.
He's playing well.
You can't count them out of this game.
He didn't do much last week, though. He really didn't. But he's been playing well lately.
And Buffalo, I mean, if you look at their roster from top to bottom, this is probably one of the most complete teams, if not the most complete team.
I love Buffalo.
They had a few rough patches along the way, but this team is for real. The offensive line is as good as any. They have a couple good running backs in Singletary and Moss. And I wanted the Steelers to draft Moss a couple of years ago out of Utah.
Agreed.
Diggs is one of the best receivers in the entire league. Dawson Knox is a threat at tight end. And he can go short, he can go long, he can block.
That's still not even their best offensive player, though.
I know.
Stephon Diggs, man.
I just said he's one of the best receivers in the league.
And, I mean...
Not even to mention they have the number 1 defense. Josh Allen is playing out of his mind the past few weeks.
I think he can be the next coming big quarterback.
This might be the year for the Bills to get the job done. And so everyone can quit saying wide right.
So, Bills win, hypothetically, Bills win this game. That puts that game, and if the Bengals win, we're going back to Buffalo the next weekend, which would be really interesting.
Both Kansas City and Buffalo are hitting on all cylinders right now, and whoever wins this game should be favored to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl in a few weeks. I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. I'm sticking with it. I think Allen makes a mistake to cost the Bills the game. Kansas City 28, Bills 26.
I'm taking them.
Close one.
So let's go back to...
Playing in Arrowhead at night, that's just what does it for me.
Let's go back
If this was at 4 o'clock today, I'd probably take the Bills.
Who did I have in the Super Bowl?
You had the Green Bay Packers over the Buffalo Bills.
Go Bills. That's all I'm going to say. Go Bills. 30, what did I say? 31-27, go Bills. It's time for Buffalo to get back. It's going to happen tomorrow night. Promise you. Because I even put a little money on it. So, all right. That's our divisional playoff previews. We're going to change it up today, as in this week they released the WPIAL fall sports alignments. And Brennan and I haven't even talked previewing this together, so we're just going to, off the cup, and I want to get some of his opinions on what's these alignments look like and how they're going to be affected going on throughout the season. We're going to talk mainly about football today, but I do want to talk about my Trojans real quick for soccer. It also involves our alma mater in Charleroi as well. So if you go ahead and look, they had a lot of issues, and you're going to see this year as these organizations for the WPIAL produce these alignments, because they changed up the whole Votech enrollment thing, and a lot of schools jumped on this, to where if you have any student enrolled in your vocational school, they serve as a 10% student. So for every 10, it counts as 1. So schools like these local schools like California, Charleroi, the schools that a lot, Best Center, the schools that focus on vocational school, it helps them out. Mm-hmm. Because, they're not a full-time student here. They're going half day there, and they're going,
a half day here.
Half day here. So what changed it is they, in my opinion, it's if they keep it this format and you can see this going on more, I think this drives us back to going back to 4 classifications. And we're going to talk about that more in football. But just in soccer, if you look at the breakdowns, okay, they play only in 4. They play 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. Mm-hmm. Boys soccer, 4A, 16 teams. 3A, 31 teams.
Wow.
2A, 31 teams. Single A, 27 teams. So something's going, in my opinion, that's showing more. And we're going to talk about more in volleyball, because there's something in volleyball too. But I feel bad for my California Trojans. They did a merger with Monessen last year.
Yeah, I remember a couple was talking about it at work.
It's really working for both schools. For our girls going to Monessen and for our Monessen boys coming here, it's helping a lot. But man, did they get thrown a juggernaut in our section next year. The Roy, who's been competing in 2A soccer, is coming down to single A soccer next year. But here's where I'm frustrated. So you got schools like in single A, because there's so many teams of 27. Here's our section. Bentworth, Best Center, Cal, Charleroi. That's respectful. Geibel, GCC, Ligonier Valley.
That's a haul.
A haul for all these, for Bentworth, Best Center, and Cal and Charleroi. A haul. It's an hour and 15 minutes. Now you look at the cross, they took Chartiers Houston and they put them in this section. Bishop Canada, Hall, Brentwood, that's not easy to get to from Chartiers. You can go through Cannonsburg and down through, I guess. Mm-hmm. Carlington, that's not bad for Chartiers.
No.
Sarah and Seton LaSalle. Why couldn't they have given Chartiers to us and taken Ligonier and putting them in that section, where it's more Eastern schools? I don't know. So, I feel bad for our Trojans having to do a Ligonier matchup, but we'll see how that works. But here's
I feel bad for everybody. Shit, that's a haul.
That's a haul.
That's a long ways to go on a school bus.
And they came into the WPIAL last year. My softball team met them in the playoffs, and their pitcher's going to go and play next year at Youngstown State. She was only a junior. Dude, she was insane. We played 5 innings against them because that's what she mainly controls that team. They're good offensively, but she's the main catalyst. And we had one girl put the ball in play. That's how good she was. But let's go back to my next thought. Okay, so another 4 classification breakdown. Girls volleyball. All right, 4A, 16 teams again. 3A, 36 teams. 2A, 41 teams. 1A, 29 teams. There's a problem here. They need to fix this. That's just insane to me. To have that much of a discrepancy is insane.
You have to look at the balance in sports like that. I don't care how many kids you have in your school district. I don't. Because more than half of them probably aren't athletes. And that's sad to say, because kids just don't want to play sports anymore. They'd rather have jobs or make money.
Right.
Or, just be lazy. Whatever.
And here's where, boys soccer, you can see that the section we're in for Cal, for girls volleyball, is more local. You got Avella, Cal, Carmichael's, Fraser, Geibel, JM, Mapletown, West Green. That's respectful.
That's normal.
But that shows how many of those schools don't play boys soccer. Every one of them, except for Geibel.
I was going to say all of them.
Everybody but Geibel. So, but let's talk into the football one. So they released the football alignment, and I don't know if you saw this or not yet. They had a couple different options because they're trying to give Aliquippa the chance because they can't control their upgrades and with the whole transfer things and the competition points. But so they made all these different I would say, opportunities for Aliquippa. They gave him a spot in 5A. So that what they did was they made 6A, which is only 5 teams, which is stupid. You're going to play each other
twice.
Maybe they might play each other twice. We'll see what they do.
One home, one away.
Because, you had to play 9 games. So that means you're going to have to field 5 non-conference games if you don't do that way. And that's crazy.
Who's going to want to play up? That's the major question. Who the hell's going to want to play up?
You're going to get your schools.
Travel all, however far away and just, get your ass handed to you.
You got Pine Richland. You got a couple of the schools that went back down. They might, but they don't want to. They went down for a reason. They're not going to want to go back and play that.
No.
So, then you look into 5A. So they put one breakdown with Aliquippa in 5A.
Okay.
They put them, which I think is stupid. Here's what the sections read: Baldwin, Bethel, Moon, Peters, South Fayette, Upper St. Clair. Very general direction.
South Hills area.
Not bad. Then section 2, Franklin Regional, Gateway, Hempfield, Norwin, Penn Trafford, Plum, Woody High. All the eastern schools.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. But here's the problem. Where Aliquippa sits in is they sit in that northern section. Aliquippa, Fox Chapel, North Hills, Penn Hills, Pine Richland, Shaler.
Ooh.
Pine Richland just won the 6A state title 2 years ago. So it'll be interesting. So they put 5A classification of 19 teams, and then they did one with 18 teams taking Aliquippa out. Then we jump into 4A. 21 versus 22 teams. With Aliquippa in, they're in their old section of Ambridge, Blackhawk, Central Valley. Because Central Valley went up to 4A, which is what we're talking about. Chartiers Valley, Montour, Newcastle, West Allegheny. That's not bad. Your eastern schools of Armstrong, Hampton, Highlands, Indiana, Kiski, Mars, and North Catholic came up. So 2 of your big 3A schools were Central Valley and North Catholic. They went up to 4A. Then you got Section 3 of Connellsville, Greater Latrobe, Laurel Highlands, McKeesport, Ringgold, TJ, and Trinity. Can you imagine how far that drive is to Greater Latrobe from Trinity?
Yeah.
Hike.
You remember when we were in high school, I was on the football team and we played at Freedom. They were even talking about running us a coach bus to go up there one night.
I remember that game.
It's so far.
Well, I got them as a scrimmage opponent for my softball team, unfortunately. So I got to take that trek to Freedom. Yep, and we had to go up to it. But 4A though, so you got 2 teams in 3A that were juggernauts in Central Valley and North Catholic, going up to 4A now. But what name did I not read in that 4A list has been up there? The local team. Del Vernon moved down officially. So
I remember they were talking about moving down to 3A, and they're going to pick up right where they left off because.
Hold on, so we'll talk about their section. So 3A, you got again 19 versus 20 teams because that's where Aliquippa used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where they're fighting to go back to.
Okay.
So they put them with Avonworth, Beaver, Hopewell, Quaker Valley, Seton LaSalle, and South Park, which they used to play in that section. Not bad. You got your eastern section of Deer Lakes, East Day, Freeport, Knox, Shadyside Valley, and then they put West Mifflin in that section. That's a hike for to go to Deer Lakes from West Mifflin.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got section 3. You might as well just call it the Westmoreland section. Bell Vernon, EF. That'll be a great matchup because EF is a quality program in 3A.
Mm-hmm.
Greensburg, Salem, they'll blow them out. Mount Pleasant, they're going to blow them out. South Allegheny, and Southmoreland. Those are those 3 teams we used to play when we were in 2A with them.
When we were in, when I played football, we didn't look forward to games because you know why? You played Mount Pleasant, you played Southmoreland, you played East Allegheny,
Mm-hmm.
Greensburg Central Catholic back when they had the Stopoli twins.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? We'd go out there in front and we'd get our asses handed to us, and it wasn't even fun. We played a few good teams relative to us, Waynesburg, Brownsville.
Right. Brownsville went independent. They're not playing a WPIAL schedule this year.
Good for them.
Yeah.
You know what? Because you know why? They knew they would probably get screwed and have to play up a conference or whatever just because of the number of boys in their school, which is ridiculous.
I'm hoping Cal has an opportunity to play. I think that'd be a good matchup locally for us.
Oh, it's always a good thing when local schools play.
Because our non-conference matchups last year. Now I think they determined that from the WPIAL aspect. I think they do all that for them. But Best Center was a non-section one. They're actually in our section now. So, Let's jump into 2A. Let's talk about Charleroi. Charleroi got screwed.
What else is new?
Here's 2A. Apollo Ridge, Section 1. Apollo Ridge, Burrell, Derry, Amani Christian, Ligonier. So you got all your eastern schools. It's not bad. Then they tossed in Sarah, Steel Valley, and York into that. I can understand York going that way. Sarah, that's a hike. Steel Valley, that's kind of a hike. Section 2. Beaver Falls, Elwood City, all the northern schools. Freedom, Mohawk, Neshannock, New Brightonton, Riverside, and Western Beaver. Respectful. 23 teams in this one. So that leaves Charleroi with, listen to this. You thought our section was bad before. I mean, we had juggernaut teams. We weren't traveling if these guys are going to travel. Brentwood, Charleroi, Keystone Oaks, McGuffey, Stowe Rocks.
Wow.
Stowe Rocks, baby. And Washington and Waynesburg. Washington and Stowe Rocks is going to be an amazing matchup in this section because Stowe Rocks has been a powerful team lately. They lost their coach because he went elsewhere. He's a coach in Amani now. Man. So already got to go up to Stowe Rocks and play.
Whew. Charlie got to go up to Stowe Rocks and lose.
Oh. 100%. All right. Then you got Class A. The largest section. 30 teams. 30. Section 1. Clareton, Fraser, GCC, Jeanette, Leechburg, Riverview, Springdale. Understandably, in terms of location, but Fraser came down from 2A to play a more competitive schedule, and they got thrown into the juggernaut section. Even though Jeanette's not where they used to be. They're going to maybe get back there, hopefully. But you're playing Clareton, GCC. Leechburg crushed us in the playoffs. I mean, Springdale's not a bad team. They've always been up there. Section 2. Bentworth, Best Center, Cal, Carmichael's, JM, Mabletown, Manessa, and West Green. Not a bad section.
Makes sense.
Not a bad section. I'm excited for us. I mean, so that means we play 7 section games and 2 non-section games. But they shifted because we used to have Avella. They put Avella, and listen to this one. Geographically, this makes sense. Avella, Bishop Canavan, Burgerstown, Carlington, Chartiers, Cornell, Fort Cherry, Olsh. Geographically, 79 makes sense.
Yeah, that makes the most sense out of everything you've said so far.
Athletically, Avella got crushed in the Tri-County South, but it's nobody. They're going to go play Cornell, who's been in the playoffs a lot of years, Burgerstown, Chartiers, who was in the 2A playoff last year, and Olsh.
You're talking about a lot of farm boys out there, ground and pound, power eye. Mm-hmm. Really don't like to air the ball out like we do around here, with local high schools like Aliquippa.
Right. Avella geographically makes sense.
Those teams going into the playoffs, they're not going to stand a chance, especially if they play someone who likes to air the football out, throw it all over the yard. But, to resolve all these issues, I think that what people need to say to everyone, we're going to go independent for 3 years. You schedule your own teams. You can't play the same team twice in your back-to-back seasons.
It's not a bad idea.
And then we will classify who you are. Because, come on, when our parents were growing up, Charleroi and Ringgold played Charleroi and Belverna played Charleroi and Monessen. Closer teams. This is ridiculous. Some of these teams have to travel an hour and 25 minutes to play a freaking game they're going to lose.
I know.
I'd rather you travel 20 minutes up the freaking street and, to go, get your ass handed to you.
It'll be interesting playoff-wise for this because then you got Section 4, the northern schools of Laurel, Northgate, Rochester, Shenango, Southside, Summit, and Union. Some very good northern schools. But, my question is, from a playoff standpoint, what do you do in these aspects? So, 5 teams, you're going to take 4 of them. 6A. If it stays at 18 or 19 teams,
taking about half.
What do? Do you take 8?
You'd probably stick with the even number.
Or do you take 8 or 12? You know
How
what I
many
mean?
were there? 19?
19 is the max. 3 sections. You could take 12, but that means then 2 teams of each section are going to be sitting at home doing nothing.
I'd probably say they're going to take 12. That way more schools can make more money.
Maybe. And the same thing with... So 4A, you got 22. They'll take 12 out of that.
But see, if you take 12, out of the one we were just talking about, out of the 19, you're going to have teams with losing records in there. It's not even a hesitation. You're going to have teams with losing records.
It makes it easier because you take 4 teams from 3 sections.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 8, you take 2 teams and 2 wild cards, which can get fishy.
High school sports, that's really dicey, taking wild cards and bye weeks and stuff like that.
4A, they'll take 12 teams out of 22.
Mm-hmm.
3A is 19 and 20 again, so they'll probably... It depends. 2A, I still think... I don't know. There's 23 teams.
They'll take 12. They'll take half.
I hope so.
23 is closer to 24 than 19. I'd say they take the definite 12 out of that one. The 19 ones...
I hope they don't take more than 12.
I know this is the WPIAL and they're all about money, so they might take 12.
You got 30 teams out of single A, they're going to take 16 teams. Out of 30 teams, they're going to take 16. There's 4 sections.
Yeah, they'll take...
Top 4, go. Which is not bad, because each section is either 7 or 8, so that's not a bad representation. But there's a little bit of a high school preview. Hopefully they're going to have the winter and spring ones out. We can talk about them more in February and March and break down what I'm going to have. And we'll continue our high school topics soon, as I'm going to talk more about softball eventually.
Prepping for your softball season coming up.
Yeah, one of my players wants to come on and talk, so we'll see. But let's jump into our NFL topics. So, state of the Steelers. Last week's game, in my opinion, didn't show me anything I wasn't expecting. They
didn't deserve to be there. Let's be honest. They didn't deserve to be there.
But the first half, they played a heck of a defensive game.
I'd say the first 20 minutes, and then they started getting gassed. The offense couldn't pick up first downs.
Correct.
Drops by Johnson and Claypool. If, like I said before, if they could have capitalized off that Bush interception early in the first quarter and went down and scored any kind of points, they could have went up 14-0, 10-0.
Well, that would have been the first score, because then TJ's fumble was after that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they could have did that, and then, if you're counting that scoop, the score still went up 10-0, 14-0, you probably could have a pin drop in Arrowhead, because they don't do well with losing. That is a very proud fan base. But
I'm not surprised, but I want to talk about what do we do next. Okay? We're going to break it down into 4 different sections. Coaching staff, who do we re-sign, what positions do we tackle in free agency, because it's hard to tell who we can tackle and go get. We know a couple, quarterback one at least. Then what do we do in the draft? So, let's start coaching staff and personnel first. We have to find somebody to be a new GM. Kevin Colbert's done a great job, but his retirement looming.
Kevin Colbert, him and everything everyone kind of knew this offseason coming up. Him and Roethlisberger were tied at the hip, and they go out, together into the sunset, down to West Palm Beach and probably have a nice margarita together.
I don't like how he wants to stay around for the draft, though.
No, if I were the Rooneys and Mike Tomlin, I'd say,
go.
Thank you for everything you've done. Being a part of Super Bowl teams, thank you for that. But that's all
hard.
We need to find somebody right now.
Unless they're going to do somebody internally. Which we do have a couple good candidates internally that are getting interviewed for GM jobs. So then I'd be okay with it, but there needs to be something done there.
Let's just say if they're going to hire one of those guys and they know who it's going to be and they're not going to say it until after the draft, and him and Colbert are basically going to be living together these next couple of months into the draft season, that's okay with me. Yeah. But if it's not going to be outsider. That, you need to get Colbert the hell out of there, clean out his office, welcome this new guy in, let him and Tomlin go at it for a few weeks, find out what you want to do and what you have to do. I definitely think you need both new coordinators.
Let's talk about that, though. I don't think they're going to get rid of Matt Canada.
I don't either. I think Tomlin's going to say, this has been our guy for 1 year. Let's roll the dice on him one more year.
And I don't think his style of play and coaching style didn't set up enough.
The personnel does not match what he wants to do.
Let's give him something for personnel and see what he can do. But I think Keith Butler is going to resign.
I heard he's going to retire. He sucked since he took over the defense. Let's just get that out of the way. Yep. As soon as Dick LeBeau retired, the defense took a freaking nosedive because Keith Butler, I think, was just a puppet, and Tomlin was running that Tampa 2 defense. Yep. And you know what? It hasn't panned out.
Nope. So I definitely think new defensive coordinator, new GM, and then
not to mention, I think Canada and Butler both are underqualified for what they do. They've never had high-profile coordinators ever. I mean, you had LeBeau, who was outstanding.
Well, but no, you can.
And then you had Todd Haley, and him and Roethlisberger bumped heads. And
Bruce Arians.
But him and Ben Roethlisberger are really good friends. They own property together, I heard.
Here's the other coaching change I want to see. We got to get a new offensive line coach.
Whisenhunt left for basically the same rate to go to Denver.
Right.
Why didn't they replace him? They hired two nobodies, and then the one guy left to go to Oregon. I mean, what a step down that is.
You said Whisenhunt. It was Mike Munchak.
Oh, Mike Munchak. Sorry, Whisenhunt was another offensive coordinator.
Did you know? Mike Munchak got let go.
By Denver.
Denver fired their head coach, cleaned all the staff out. Mike Munchak's a free agent technically. Bring him back. Oh,
I'd be on the phone with him in a heartbeat. I mean,
he left for more money. And I think that's a problem with the Rooney. They don't spend money.
I think his kids live out that way, and he wanted to be closer to home, and his kids live in like Boulder, Colorado, or something like that. So, all power to him. Want to be with your family, but
you talk about family though. Let's talk about this real quick. Dino Tomlin, Mike Tomlin's son. Did you see where he transferred to?
I didn't see where he transferred to.
Boston College.
Oh wait, yeah, I did see that. I read that on 24/7 yesterday at work.
Makes me think, 2023 quarterback of the Steelers. Who do you think it's going to be? I know who it's going to be. No. Boston College's Phil Dracovic. Pittsburgh guy. Mike Tomlin's son's going to play for him now.
I don't think so.
But we'll talk about that later. Re-signings. I've got 4.
Fitzpatrick is the lock.
He's not a re-sign. I think he's a. You have to extend him because I think he still has another year.
Oh, I was reading a thing this morning that they basically they've been saying it for months now that a contract's basically set in place.
Yeah. Here's these guys are unrestricted. Either they're going to walk or you got to bring them back. 4 people. For what this kid did last week, you got to bring Juju back.
I think he's going to take a major discount. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if he signed like a 3-year, $24 million deal, $8 million a year, just to be like, hey,
he wants to
I'm a one-team kind of guy.
He wants to be.
And he said that before. I'm a one-team kind of guy.
I would re-sign right tackle Chuka Okorafor.
Depth piece, I'd just sign Chooks.
I think
he's not a starter, I don't think. I mean, you can't handle the pass rushers in this division.
He's actually done better, though, than Dan Moore has.
Mm-hmm. Dan Moore, a 4th-round pick. Like we said, he's a project kind of guy. Whole year experience under his belt. I think it's going to help a whole hell of a lot going into this offseason.
New coach, hopefully.
Hopefully it's Munchak. Hopefully they bring him back.
Here's another corner I want to re-sign here. A heck of a season. Akello Witherspoon.
Yes. They're the guy they traded for from the 49ers, right?
Nah, it was the 49ers Seahawks, one of them, too.
I think it was the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think he played for the Seahawks.
He played for the Seahawks.
And he signed with the 49ers, and then we traded nothing, basically, to bring him in.
I think
good
he needs
depth
to resign.
piece.
But he's played well. Here's the last guy. Terrell Edmonds. I would do it on a cheap deal.
They neglected to pick up the 5th-year option, which I think was smart at the time. Now, I don't think it's smart. There's a couple different things that you could
The reason why
with that safety position, you could bring back Edmonds on a cheap deal. You could talk to Joe Hayden and be like, "Hey,
I want to play safety." I know.
A lot of guys that you're friends with did it.
The reason why I'm saying you got to bring Edmonds back if you get him on a cheap deal is, I think we need to address more issues.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about it. I've got 7 positions that I want to address in free agency.
Well, here's my thing. Before we even talk into free agency, you have to know who's committed to this team. Like Stephon Tuitt. I'm sorry about the loss of your brother. If you ever hear this, I'm sorry about the loss of him. But you need to be committed to what you're under contract for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a month, to cope with the losing of your brother. I think when he died, was it Georgia or Florida?
I don't really know.
It was Georgia. But you're not committed to this team. We had a lot of defensive line problems this year.
Agreed.
We lost to it. You lose Alu.
He wants to come back.
To it?
No, Alu.
They signed him. I thought it was a 2-year deal they signed him to last year.
Yeah, he's saying he wants another chance. So yeah, I agree. You got to know what Tua wants to do. But here's where I would say, number 1, quarterback. I would go after free agency because
that's the big one you have to sign.
They want Matt Canada to have a quarterback that he wants that can actually succeed in his system. Of the players on roster right now, 2 out of the 3 could succeed in his system. 1 cannot. Mason Rudolph can't run.
No. Mason Rudolph is your typical pocket passer, pro-style quarterback.
This is not what his system wants.
I think Mason Rudolph is a tomato can. I think he's useless.
Dwayne and Josh Dobbs, if they were better, they fit this system. I could see them keeping them as a backup for the system because the system doesn't change.
Dwayne's not really a runner, from what I've seen him do at Ohio State, but he'll do it if he absolutely
can run.
Has to.
He can run more.
He'd rather be the drop back, pro-style quarterback, but he will run if he absolutely has to.
Mm-hmm. Josh Dobbs can run.
Josh Dobbs can run. We watched him in Tennessee for a long time. Big games against Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia.
Yep. So here's 4 quarterbacks that I like to go after. Marcus Mariota. Mitchell Trubisky.
No.
Why?
Keep going. Just keep going.
Derek Carr.
Yes.
Jimmy G.
No.
That's what else is out there. We're not going to bring in Russell Wilson.
No.
We're not going to bring in A-Rod.
Everyone that thinks there's a shot for Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, you need to wake up and smell the coffee.
The Rooney family will never bring Deshaun Watson in.
No, and Deshaun Watson's also out as well. Another name I heard mentioned a lot with the Steelers this week is Kirk Cousins.
Is he a free agent?
No, they'd have to trade. Which his cap hit this year is $35 million.
So much money.
Derek Carr's, I can't remember how much it is. His would have to be a trade as well.
I thought he was a free agent.
No, after this year, he'd be a free agent. That is what I've been told.
Okay. That's why I think Marcus Mariota could be a good fit for us.
I think the Steelers need to look into what they have. I might make some trades and tell guys like Stephon Tuitt, thank you for your time, but we're going to take a 5th round pick for you because you're useless to us and you're older, you're injury prone. A lot of the defensive line I think is going to be gone except for maybe Hayward, who's still playing out of his mind.
Did they get rid of Wormley? I thought Wormley's still here.
I mean, Wormley's a good depth piece. I don't think he's a starter.
This goes back to our topic that we talked about before.
You need to know your personnel before you start bringing in guys and drafting guys.
And are we changing the scheme? I think we need to change the scheme. I think we play more 4-3 than we truly can handle. Because, hey, as truly, TJ can drop into coverage, but his main thing is about pass rushing. You got Highsmith, who can pass rush. Just change them to defensive ends. Leave Hayward in the middle where he needs to be. Get another piece right next to him. Fix your linebacking core up a little bit more.
And linebacker-wise, you have to know what's going on. I mean, Joe Schobert, he's under contract for another 3 years at $10 million a year, I believe, is what I heard on the radio this week.
I think he's
a good
system. Yeah.
He's a good depth piece.
Yes.
But he's not the guy. And the same with Devin Bush. You need to find out what you have.
So here's where I would go elsewhere in free agency. You got to pick up. I think if you can go pick up a decent left tackle to protect the blind side, let Dan Moore continue to progress. That piece shift to the right tackle if you have to. Get a good left tackle. Go pay for it. There's going to be some names out there I saw. I don't remember exacts. Center has to be targeted.
I think if you do what people have really been saying all year, I think we even talked about this. I'd keep Hassenauer, put him at center, a good center for what he needs to do, and I'd put Dotson and Green at guards where they should be. And then your interior offensive line's fine.
But if you can get a good center on the in free agency, but I want to draft one. We'll talk about that later. You got to go get a corner.
You need a corner.
You need a corner. You need middle linebacker depth.
You need linebacker depth just in general. I mean, they tried bringing the Ingram experiment, didn't work out. Bush is not the guy. He's not the next Shazier. I think everyone thought he was going to be. Was hyped up about the pick. Schobert, I mean, who knows what you really have. Spillane, good overall player, good depth piece, good special teams player.
I think if you change
he can't play.
If you went to 4-3 and you let Spillane actually play the middle linebacker spot,
he can run with some of those slot receivers.
But if you get two what they call the Sam and the Will,
that can run linebackers, yeah.
Let them and let Spillane just sit in the middle, spying a little bit. You need to go get some defensive tackles, some depth, and you need a little bit more depth behind Highsmith and Watt. Talk about Charlton, decent depth piece. He's played well this year.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I would tackle 5 positions in the draft, in this order. Because I don't consider anything past 6th and 7th round. That's just...
I don't even...
5th round is where you get the max. 1st round pick, center. Go get the kid from Iowa.
If he's not gone.
He's right around there. And there's a kid from North Alabama that's also very... And we like those kind of picks, and they usually progress for us. I mean, Highsmith from Charlotte. So, round 2, middle linebacker. Round 3, corner. Round 4, go get a receiver. You need a depth piece because you're going to let Washington walk.
Yeah, I mean...
You need a 4th receiver. But you don't need to spend more money than a 4th round pick on it.
You see, the Steelers hit a lot on those late receivers, those 4, 5, 6s. Washington, that number, in the 2nd round a few years ago, I knew was a bust instantly. The Steelers don't draft well from the Big 12. They never have. They never will.
I think he could. I don't think he's a bust, though. I really just don't think that he was where he needed to be.
I mean, he walked in. Brown was still on the roster. Juju. Yeah. I mean,
he didn't get to progress like he wanted to progress.
No.
And then I would say the 5th round pick, I did some more defensive line depth. So those are my kind of...
I mean, you have to wait and see if they actually do address a quarterback in free agency. If they don't address a quarterback in free agency, I think round 1 is going to be a quarterback. I think they'll move up. They've only ever done it 3 times in history.
For Bush.
They moved it. Can you name all 3?
Bush. It wasn't Ben.
No. Ben, they
in between Ben and Bush?
There was one before. I think one year, the year before Ben, and one a couple years after Ben.
I don't remember.
Troy Polamalu.
Oh, you're right.
Santonio Holmes.
I don't know. I don't like the quarterback class in this draft.
I don't like them either. If I had to pick one, I think would fit the way the Steelers like to play football and their style and their scheme. I'd probably go with Matt Corral.
I like Matt Corral.
I do too.
And with his injury coming off of the bowl game, he might be a little bit lower. You might be able to get him at 20. I mean, here's a problem. When you see that there's not a quarterback out there that's getting drafted in the top 5, you know the quarterback class is weak. I mean, they're not even...
who needs a quarterback in the top 5? Jacksonville doesn't.
No.
Houston, they're saying if they hire the right guy, Watson's open-minded to stay. I think it's one guy he has in mind and one guy only. Eric Bieniemy, Kansas City offensive coordinator. Hopefully this is the year. I mean, he's been deserving the shot.
And Buffalo's offensive coordinator.
Buffalo offensive coordinator.
So the top 5 draft picks are who?
You have Jacksonville.
Are they number 1?
They are number 1 here.
Detroit.
Let's pull it up here. We need to entertain the masses for a moment. 2022 draft order.
See who can get it up first.
Let's see here. Come on, computer.
Mine's spinning.
Here we go. Come on. I'm not interested in what Mel Kiper has to say. I said Jacksonville.
Yep. Jacksonville.
Detroit. Houston. The Jets. The Giants. The Giants are the only one out of that group that could take a quarterback. They might say, hey, hell with it. We're going to make the move for Wilson. Big market. They have some nice pieces there, and Barkley and Galladay. They need a quarterback. They need some offensive line and a little bit of defensive pieces. Carolina at 6 could look quarterback. They might just throw a bandage on it, to keep, like with Winston or something. The Giants again at 7.
I like that the Giants have 2 in the top 7. That's awesome.
Atlanta at 8 could look to take a quarterback. They might be in the market to trade Matty Ice. That would be a move I would see the Steelers maybe making with Matt Ryan.
9, maybe.
9, Denver. I think they're content with Bridgewater. I think they might bring in somebody else to compete. I think they realize Drew Lock's a pumpkin, and that's all it ever will be. The Jets at 10 don't need a quarterback. Washington at 11, they could take a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Vikings at 12, maybe not. Depends on what happens with Kirk.
Browns could at 13.
Browns at 13. I think Mayfield will be back. I think they're going to wait.
Maybe. Ravens
Baltimore,
have Jackson. Philadelphia
15 and 16 is both Philadelphia.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
So that could be a quarterback. Los Angeles at 17 won't be a quarterback. 18 at New Orleans might be a quarterback. Philadelphia again at 19, and then the Steelers at 20.
I could see Philadelphia making a big jump next year with 3 picks between 15, 16, and 18. That's 19. That's nice.
I think they might give up one to move up.
They got to move up a little bit. Yeah.
It just depends, but like I said, there's a couple teams that need a quarterback ahead of us.
I guess I see what you mean. I mean, like, Jacksonville's not going to take one. Detroit's not going to take one. Houston's not going to take one. Jets. I could see that, but like, they were saying that Malik Will's kid from Liberty would be the first one off the board, and then Pickett, and then Corral.
I don't know. I didn't watch enough of Liberty this year to know anything about Malik Willis. Or Wills, whatever his last name is.
We'll see. We can talk about more of that later. We're good over the hour mark now, so we'll do the draft. Let's finish with our dudes and ballers.
I got a good one this week.
So do I. Let me go first?
Oh, doesn't matter.
I'll go first. All right. A.J. Dillon. Running back. I went after the playoff aspect this week and tried to pick a playoff. Do your baller, and A.J. Dillon, running back for the Green Bay Packers. He's the number 2 running back.
They brought back Aaron Jones. He would have been the number 1.
Correct.
A.J. Dillon, Boston College?
Boston College, yep. He had a successful year. 187 carries for a number 2. 803 yards, 5 touchdowns. They, in my opinion, drafted him because Aaron Jones is not a browser and a bruiser a running back. A.J. Dillon can be.
They drafted him for games like this one they're going to be playing tonight.
Correct. And they drafted him for those goal line situations. They had a big draft grade on him. I honestly am going to call him a dude.
A.J. Dillon, a dude. Yeah, they brought back Jones for a reason.
He's a dude right now until he can get out of behind Aaron Jones. He's the typical Jerome Bettis style running back, but he's only going to be
ground
safe.
And pound. Hey, I'll have 15 carries for 3 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right. I mean, he was averaging like 4.
Fantasy owner's nightmare.
4 and 5 yards. I think he averaged 4 yards a carry this year. Just over. But, dude, so what do you got?
Okay, my dudes are ballers pick. Byron Pringle, wide receiver, Kansas City Chiefs. Season stats, 42 catches, 568 yards, 5 scores.
What is he technically there? The third receiver?
I'd say he's the third, but he's really the number 2 receiver, actual receiver-wise. Because, I mean, you have Kelsey, who basically is a wide receiver.
Correct.
And then you have Hill, who's been a decoy the past couple weeks, really. Mm-hmm. So I think Pringle's a baller. A low-key baller, but a baller.
Okay.
These past few weeks, when Mahomes needs a catch, he's going to Kelsey or Pringle. Mm-hmm. Hill's been kind of a decoy, like I just said. I think Pringle has stepped up since the departure of Sammy Watkins.
Yep.
I think he's the number 2 receiver over Robinson or Hardman. Pringle,
I think Hardman. I don't know. I like Hardman, but he's just.
I like Hardman a lot of Georgia.
He's just a big speed threat. He's a Tyreek Hill Jr. in my opinion.
Mike Wallace.
Yeah, deep threat.
What do you think, dude or baller?
I don't know.
I went with dude on Dillon.
I don't know how much.
The past few weeks he needs a catch. Who's he going to? Pringle or Kelsey?
He's going to Pringle.
That's why I'm saying dude. Came on later half of the season.
I'm going to call him a dude right now.
You're going to call him a dude right now?
Because I don't think he's proved enough yet. I think he could, but he's like teetering.
Did he have 2 touchdowns against the Steelers in the playoff game? I know he had 2 touchdowns in the regular season game.
Hold on. Think so? Maybe? It's loading.
He had 2 TDs in the regular season game.
Well, Mahomes threw for 5, and Kelsey caught one of them. Let's see.
Kelsey tossed one.
Kelsey did toss one. That's disgusting.
Was that the Pringle?
I don't know. Pringle, yeah, he had 5 catches, 37 yards, 2 scores.
Baller. Yardage doesn't show it?
Technically, Hardman averaged more yards catch, but he had a 40. Oh my God, no, he didn't. He had a 41 yard catch, and he had 4 catches for 43. That's sad. But all right, for Brennan and for Dave, this is episode 6. We're just gonna kind of make it an easy title, and we'll just say divisional round preview.
Divisional round preview.
Nothing very
simple,
creative.
easy. I like it.
So tune in next week as we get to the conference championship. We dive into more NFL topics and maybe get a little bit of draft topic. We can talk about some new head coaching hires. They haven't really had any head coaching hires yet. They're still kind of sitting.
I think a lot of people are seeing how these guys do.
I think it's because
postseason.
They want some of these offensive coordinators and D coordinators from some playoff teams. So, for Brandon and for Dave, this is the end today. So, goodbye, everybody.
See you, Dave.